If you watched my last video, you would have witnessed the breathtaking beauty of what a small team of independent developers can bring to life in the Star Wars universe. They created this in their spare time, an incredibly detailed and somewhat accurate recreation of the Mos Eisley spaceport. So today, what I thought would be interesting is if we were to compare this free fan-made creation to the work of a AAA development team with a giant financial backing, as seen in EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2's version of Mos Eisley. Will this be a case of David versus Goliath or Luke versus the Rancor? Will a fan-made project successfully embarrass a AAA game, or will money and extra resources prevail? Let's find out. Hey everyone, it's Andrew. This is Star Wars Docking Bay 94 Mos Eisley versus Star Wars Battlefront 2 Mos Eisley. Also, just note that this comparison will be based on the Battlefront 2 single-player arcade map, which is smaller than the Galactic Assault map. I tried finding a game of Galactic Assault on Mos Eisley, but with the 13 or so playable maps in Galactic Assault, the odds were against me. It was not to be. Nevertheless, here we go. First up, we have something that's pretty damn neat and I completely forgot was in Battlefront 2. On Mos Eisley, you can play in both the daytime and nighttime, randomly selected as the map loads. When I spawned into the map for the second time while I was filming, I was completely wowed by the starry blue sky and blue shadows that wash over the map. Blaster fire and sparks also look amazing. You know how much I love my sparks. Just could sit here all day looking at the sparks. Docking Bay 94 also has amazing sparks. Now the lighting on this map is somewhat similar to the daytime version in Battlefront 2, where we get the pinkish hues of the binary sunset. This is Battlefront and this is Docking Bay. Which do you think looks better? Next up, the cantinas in both games are actually quite different recreations of the original seen in A New Hope. Let's start with Docking Bay 94. Of the two, this one seems to be more true to the film, with the cantina room possessing a very similar shape and design. You enter the cantina from the same direction, there are drinks lining the bar, strange hanging drink dispensers or kegs in the middle, there's a similar seating arrangement, there's a spot for the cantina band, and the place has that same dinginess to it that you get a sense of in the film. Now Battlefront 2's cantina design is quite different. As you walk in, you immediately realize the size of the space. It's much bigger. The bar is a different shape, they have different, more exotic looking bubbly drinks, there's a hole in the ceiling, a few chairs and tables are knocked over, there's a variety of different ornaments and fixtures, and you can even activate a hologram of Figrin Dan and the modal nodes. There's also an upstairs section where you can peer down through the ceiling and even drop in to steal yourself a drink from behind the bar. They also serve droids here, which is a bit of a surprise to me actually. They do serve their kind here. This map feels as though it was made as a functional gameplay location, more so than an accurate one-to-one representation of the actual cantina. There are multiple doors and entrances, and even the ability to drop down from the ceiling makes this map feel as though it was made for a playable purpose. One thing both maps do have in common is the floor. Both are exactly the same as the one Dr. Evazan's arm lands on. Okay, now can we just pause and break this down for a second? First, Dr. Evazan draws his blaster, then Obi-Wan ignites his lightsaber and slices a couple times. An arm falls on the floor. Now, I always thought this was Dr. Evazan's arm, but after pausing the scene, realized this isn't the arm of a pasty white guy with a deformed face. It's Ponda Baba's arm. So Obi-Wan just murdered them both, right? Seems a bit extreme just for a bar fight. Just chops off this guy's arm and slices them across the chest, probably severing all their internal organs. Obi-Wan's reliving his days in the Clone Wars, taking after his fellow Jedi. He must miss the action. But if Obi-Wan just murdered these two poor, probably drunk fools, then what happens to their bodies? Are they lying here on the cantina floor while everyone else just keeps drinking? Does someone come and clean up the mess? Is that what this coin was for that Han flicked to the bartender? With all these questions in mind, I decided to do the smart thing. I went to Wikipedia. Turns out, they're not dead. After the bar fight, they stumbled outside, Dr. Evazan with a slash across his chest, Ponda Baba with a missing arm. Evazan, being the very reputable doctor he is, tried reattaching Ponda's arm, but almost killed him in the process. The conclusion? The floor is the same in all three versions of the cantina. Don't you just love a good segue? Let's compare some of the droids between the two games. Docking Bay 94 has astromech and gonk droids moving all around the map. There's also this astromech with the Death Star blueprint, here's R2-D2 repairing something, and here's another astromech repairing an X-Wing. All very functional. And here's one of those Darth Maul Dark-Eye probe droids that greets you as soon as you spawn into the map. On Mos Eisley in Battlefront 2, there aren't nearly as many functional or mobile droids. Here's a bunch of old astromech droids in what seems to be a scrapyard workshop. Obviously their parts are going to be salvaged. There's also a few of these creepy droids around the map, all lifeless and just standing there like they're about to come to life and kill you. I bet they only move when you're not looking. They're kind of like the weeping angels from Doctor Who, if you're a Doctor Who fan, or if you're not. These things really creep me out. I may or may not have nightmares sometimes about these. Then there's a few of these droids. This one's here at the bar in the cantina. I think this may be some type of protocol droid, similar to C-3PO. But hey, even if they don't move, at least they're allowed in the cantina. Droid rights movement is coming up on Tatooine. This crashed ship appears on both maps and is an iconic landmark of the Mos Eisley landscape. Fun fact, this ship is actually called the Dowager Queen and crashed in Mos Eisley long before the Galactic Civil War. This ship also appears in the original Star Wars Battlefront 2. One thing Battlefront 2 has that Docking Bay doesn't are AI humans. I say humans because Docking Bay 94 does have AI in the form of droids. AI robots used as AI in a video game. Doesn't that just blow your mind? In Battlefront 2, both stormtroopers and rebels exist as AI, along with these AI townspeople in the background, some of who seem to be totally freaking out, and others who are totally fine and chill. There's only an invasion going on. No reason to be alarmed, honey, until you start firing in their direction. Then they freak out a little. That's damn right you run away. Now, Battlefront 2 Mos Eisley seems to have a lot of these markets and stalls located all around the map. I was incredibly impressed by the fruit physics in this game. However, now I understand why there's no one walking around the streets of Docking Bay 94's Mos Eisley. The reason there's no humans is because there's no food. Everyone died, and now the droids have taken over. Walking around with this in mind adds a slightly menacing feel to the emptiness of the map here. Suddenly I feel like all these droids are about to turn on me and zap me with those zappy things R2-D2 has. Also, my gun doesn't seem to penetrate their casing, so I feel like I'm pretty much about to... Oops, don't knock the microphone. Moisture farming seems to be highly prevalent on both Mos Eisleys. There are a bunch of these water vaporators seen around both maps, similar to the one seen at Luke's home on Tatooine. Although, just remember that in Docking Bay 94, all the humans are dead due to the lack of food and droid liberation uprisings, so I'm assuming most of these water vaporators don't actually get used anymore, unless the droids are using them for something. Not really sure what droids need water for, though. Around both maps are also a few of these escape pod things, which I thought were escape pods of some kind until I did some research and found out they are in fact 9000 Z001 land speeders. Oh, I should have known, of course. Legend goes that they could also be used as an ice fridge in the hot Tatooine desert. People used to come out of the cantina and get themselves some ice and go in and refresh their drinks, that kind of thing, you know? There are also a bunch of other similar speeders around both maps, but more so in Docking Bay 94. This game has more variety in its models and makes, and most of the speeders still appear to be functional, whereas in Battlefront 2, people don't seem to be all that good at taking care of their speeders. This place feels much more like a scrapyard and the wretched hive of scum and villainy we've all come to love. Something so appealing about the words wretched, hive, and scum in the same sentence. I guess the villainy adds that romantic quality. Okay, so one huge difference between the two maps that can only be discovered by spending some time walking around their streets is the layout of the spaceport. Now to me, Mos Eisley always seemed like a messy, unorganized city with buildings just randomly positioned and built and no real town planning ever having taken place. The whole town is built on scrap. It's supposed to be a mess. If I'm not getting lost, then something's not right. Only one of the two maps achieves this feeling of disorientation. Although Battlefront 2 does indeed have more scrap lying around the streets, more junk and clutter and small details you'd completely miss if you weren't paying any attention and just shooting bucket heads, I don't feel lost in this place. The streets feel like they're organized in a grid, and it's not hard for me to get from one place to another with some quick trial and error, working out where the map borders are along the way. However, Docking Bay 94 successfully feels like a mess of a town. I actually did get lost for a good few minutes and couldn't find my way back to where I wanted to go or where the major landmarks of the map were. There's one big street at the front, but if you walk beyond that or into one of the side alleys, it feels as if you're in a maze. This to me feels authentic to the Mos Eisley experience. You get lost in an alley, then you get, someone mugs you and you start collecting some stuff to sell for scrap, and then you realize you can't get off the planet because the guy who mugged you took your keys to your starship, and then you're screwed. You're just going to be here for the rest of your life. You're going to be a slave. Shmee. That's what happened. you know? Now, one gigantic difference between the two maps are the frequency and scale of the docking bays. Appropriately titled Docking Bay 94 has a total of 3 docking bays, each grand in scale. We have the breathtaking Millennium Falcon in one, 2 X-Wings in another, and an Imperial Shuttle in the third. Now, although the Battlefront 2 arcade map doesn't have a docking bay, there is one in Galactic Assault. It has a U-Wing inside, as well as a mess of spare parts, tools, and more, and a giant choke point of blaster fire, which prevents you from ever being able to fully take and enjoy the docking bay. And also, you rarely get to this part of the map, because if you are playing Galactic Assault, it's on the 3rd phase of the map, and it hardly ever makes it to that unless your team is a boss. The sand on both maps, much to Anakin's distaste, is similar to that seen in the film, and correctly adds to the accuracy of the map. There's just enough graininess and yellowness and coarseness and roughness and irritatingness, and it is already everywhere. The true reason Anakin turned to the dark side. I Hate Sand, a Star Wars story, coming this December. Let me know in the comments if you'd love to see this movie, and what are your thoughts on EA's Mos Eisley and this fan-made Mos Eisley? Both maps are incredibly detailed, but which do you like more? Let me know in the comments. And for more comparisons between games, check out my Which is Better series, where I compare every tiny detail between old Star Wars games and new ones. Like the difference between these old Battlefront steps and the new Battlefront 2 steps. One is brown and the other is blue. And go join my Discord and follow me on Instagram and Twitter for even more bombastic content you definitely can't live without. Thanks for watching this. My name's Andrew. Please never forget Ponda Baba's arm. He needs the support.
Stay bombastic.